If you like these videos, please check out my full course at www.lsat.totaltestprep.net with tons of clearly explained actual LSAT questions written by someone who's mastered test and helped others master it, and an evaluation period where you only pay if you want to continue. Okay, so let's take a look at the explanation and correlation relationship. So, what is the explanation or correlation argument type? So, taking a look at it, explanation is an argument type that deals with establishing the causal explanation for a state. So, an explanation type is generally presented with premises that describe a particular state and a conclusion which provides the mechanism by which that state came to be. So, for example, in this argument, it says there's smoke coming out of my neighbor's house. That's the premise. Therefore, there must be a fire in their house. So we see here that it's the actual it's the fact that there's smoke is explained by the fact that there is a fire. You can think of it as this is giving us a causal situation where the effect is in the premises and we are speculating or we are saying what the cause is. It's the fire that is causing the smoke. Now, these arguments will sometimes be worded so that the conclusion is worded as a hypothesis. So a lot of times you'll have science-based arguments that say something like they'll give a situation about some sort of animal, its behavior, and then say the scientists hypothesize that dot dot dot. And as I said, the explanation is associated with the conclusion. That is the causal factor. That is what explains the effect because that is what causes the effect. And these are what I generally call the explanation type arguments, where they simply give you this explanation in the conclusion. What you'll sometimes find is that there is going to be a specific type of explanation, which I call the correlation, and it's a specific type of explanation that appears often where a causal relationship is inferred from a correlation. So taking a look at this argument here, it says that over the past 10 years, the number of police in our city have increased and the crime rate has gone down. So, this introduces the conclusion, obviously. So, the increase in police has caused crime to fall. So the premises present a correlation, and the conclusion states that there's actually a causal relationship between that correlation. In this case, the correlation is the number of police and the crime rate. They're correlated in that number goes up, number of police goes up, crime rate goes down. What the conclusion does here is then says, well, there is a causal link between these two. They're not just correlated, one causes the other. So this is the slight difference from the more general explanation type. In the more general explanation type, if you remember, the previous argument said we have smoke, therefore we have fire. It essentially gives you an effect and concludes, or as I said, speculates what the cause for that might be. Here, we're given basically the cause and effect twice. We're given the first in the premises as a correlation. So we have the police, number of police, and the crime rate. That's the cause and effect. And that's what the conclusion says, that one caused the other. So it's slightly different, but it's essentially, in a sort of general abstract sense, it's the same. You're given a situation, there's this state of affairs that we've had more police and less crime, and then we're given the explanation for that. It's actually because one caused the other. The increase in police caused the crime rate to go down. So one common type of correlation can be where one factor is shown to appear over a period of time and another factor is also shown to appear. That's what we have here. We have a period of time of 10 years and we have the number of police going up and the crime rate going down. And as I said, the conclusion is that one causes the other. Another type, or another common type of correlation, is where two groups are compared and one group has two factors that correlate while the other one doesn't have either factor. So here we have two work crews are the same, except that the first are all given the newest computers and the second are told to work with pen and paper. So that's the difference between them. The difference is that one of the groups has computers and the other doesn't. The first work crew is more productive, so that's the second difference. That the ones that have the computers also have higher productivity, and the conclusion says, so it must be that their use of computers is what's causing their higher productivity. So once again, we have a correlation here, and as you see that the correlation is that computers correlate with productivity. But the difference is, as opposed to simply saying, hey, over a period of time, we increase computers and we also increase the productivity, it's actually doing a comparison between two groups, one that has computers and productivity, they have the correlation, and one group that doesn't. And it's on the basis of the fact that one is correlation and another that we conclude that that correlation is a causal relationship. As I said, factors that are present, so in this case, computers and productivity, have a causal relationship. Computers cause the productivity. All right, so for these arguments, you want to be on the lookout for language in the conclusion that introduces an explanation, so something because of, due to, etc. You want to be on the lookout for scientific hypotheses. So if a conclusion says something along the lines of the scientists hypothesize or researchers hypothesize, etc. And you also want to be on the lookout for research or studies or experiments, analyses, statistics, anything of that sort that establishes a correlation. So if you see that that's what the premises are saying, they're using those concepts or those categories, that language of there being research or studies, etc., chances are you're dealing with a correlation or explanation type argument where the conclusion is going to make that causal relationship explicit. And obviously, these types involve causal relationships. These are just essentially either saying that the conclusion is the cause which produced the effect in the premises, as we have in that there's smoke and therefore it's because there's a fire, or having a situation where there's a correlation and then concluding that there's a causal relationship between them. So to summarize quickly, the explanations are a common argument type where premises point to evidence, which is explained by the conclusion, and a common variation is a correlation, where the premises present a correlation and the conclusion infers a causal relationship.